Like 100%. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the show. I don't have a bunch of show notes. Normally where I go to the Observer, but they didn't have the play-by-play up yet, so we're just gonna do this off top of our heads. That's fine. Show opened up, and it was the System: Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, Bear Bronson, and Cedric Alexander. They opened the show. Edwards calls Moose selfish and said the turn had to be done because Moose was all about Moose and he was not about the System. Alicia Edwards comes out and says her contract is up soon, and she's willing to walk away from the System. So she essentially quit the System. That's interesting. I wonder if she's actually gonna like be taken off TV for a while. I wonder. Then they go backstage, and BDE is hyping up his match against Nick Nemeth, and he thinks he can win. Brother, I got some bad news for you. So Nick Nemeth defeats BDE. I like this BDE kid. This was a good match, actually. It is a good match because Nick Nemeth is fantastic. So he's a really, really good professional wrestler. Like, there's a lot of guys out there that can do all the kickouts and the high flying and all the moves, but Nick Nemeth knows how to work a match, and he knows how to make his opponent look good when his opponent is not that good yet. And BDE is really new, and he's going to be good. He just needs more experience. He's going to get there, I promise. Like, he's a hard worker. If I had some advice for the guy, and I'm not like this jacked up dude either, but I also don't have a job where I have to have my shirt off all the time. He's got to get a little bit bigger. I know he's like a young dude, and then he'll fill out as he gets older because you just like I know that I'm 42 now. You just like naturally get fatter as you get older, but he might want to, you know, hit up the protein shakes and the creatine and get the supplements and do some bench presses and some cable flies and some work on that back a little bit. And yeah, I think he's already got abs, so he's good there. But you might want to get his arms, his chest, his shoulder, and his back a little bit bigger, so he doesn't look so small against a guy like a Nick Nemeth. And he doesn't look like he's in like fantastic shape. He didn't seem like he was out of shape, but just like he's got to beef up a little bit. He's he's in there with real fucking men. He's got to beef up a little bit. But other than that, I thought he looked great. And I thought Nick Nemeth looked great. And then as he's leaving the ring, his brother comes out and says, "All right, go ahead and get the shower ready. I'll see you in a minute." I was like, wait a minute. Do the Nemeth bros take showers together? Which, like, look, me and my little brother, when we were like babies, we took baths together. That's fine. But I'm 42 and he's 39 and we don't do that anymore. That gets to be a little bit weird when you're that age. And your brothers, like if you're like, in like a relationship, okay, that makes sense. But if you're brothers, that's just fucking weird. Like you don't take a shower with your brother. Who does that? Unless like, it's like a community shower at a gym. Like that's acceptable. But it seemed like it was like, go get the hot shower ready. I'll see you in there. I was like, wait, hold the fuck on, Ryan. Anyway, he comes out to the ring and he calls out Morris Day, and he's a real creeper. He's got a date rapist vibe going, and he says he wants a kiss, but then she punches him and goes for a super kick, and then he catches it and then clotheslines her. So we're beating up girls on this show. It looks like they're going to set up another Morris Day match. So Ryan's being a super creep, a dickhead, and abusive, and they're going to build up to that moment where Mara Shade beats her. Pretty similar to the Tessa Blanchard Sammy Callahan thing, although Sammy was not trying to get kisses from her. Like that's a little bit like this storyline's got a little rapey vibe to it, if you ask me. A little creepy. Probably avoid it, but I'm not saying they shouldn't do this storyline. If you can execute it well, go for it. But it's a little creepy. Okay. Backstage, the Elegance brand, they announced that Ash by Elegance has not only re-signed, but she's 100% cleared. And they're about to do the celebration when they're interrupted by Indy Hartwell, Lei Yingli, and Zaya Brookside. They confront them, and then Ash challenges them to a 6-woman tag or a 6 knockout tag match sets up for next week. So they're going to do that. But before Indy and the girls leave, the bodybuilder AJZ stands in front of them and starts posing. And then Indy, who is gay, says, "Not my body type." he was trying to impress her, but she's like, nope, I'm a lesbian. I thought that was pretty funny. And then next we go to Stinks versus Hometown Man. I gotta say, this fucking Hometown Man, he is pretty fucking over with the crowds. Like, he's essentially a bushwhacker. Um, and I get it. Like, he comes out and he's selling this fucking hat. It's a hat and a mask at the same time. So you put the hat on backwards, and in the front, it's the Hometown Man mask. I'm gonna send one to King of the North, I think. But no, no, you're gonna get the Hometown Man. I'm not willing to bet on that one. So I already have a Big Con t-shirt. I have a Tony Khan hat. Not Tony, I'm sorry, a Carlos Silva hat. I have a Carlos Silva hat. And I am not going to be getting a Hometown Man mask, but so he is over to the crowd. It's probably death on television. I don't know how well it's going to do this week. I do predict that they're going to drop significantly just because the lead-in's not as good as last week. But I can't deny that the fact that the guy's not over with the crowd. The problem with it's way too much pandering. And Diener's he's a good wrestler. He can actually wrestle a match. He's really good. He knows what he's doing. That's why he's a backstage producer. Like, he didn't have the size and the big time charisma that all the stars have, but he knows how to produce and work a match, and he does a really good job, and he knows how to get himself over in the match. Like, he's old school like that. The problem is, for me, it's like way too much pandering. I want more action. So that's my problem. And it's like a cutesy little gimmick, but it's fine on the undercard. Like, it's like harmless. So, but the match got over. But they're doing the storyline with Stinks and Ariana, and he wants to cheat and she doesn't want him to, and it became a whole thing. Well, anyway, he cheated and he got the roll up and then the feet on the ropes for the victory. They do a lot of roll ups in this company, while Ariana was not watching, and then he lies to her, and it's a whole thing. It's stupid. I'm done with it. Anyway, then we get to Elijah defeating Jason Hotch. Elijah looked like a really good pro wrestler in this match, and that might be all credit to Jason Hotch, but I thought this was a really good match. And the crowd was hot for it. This Elijah is over, man. He's over to this crowd. I thought it was really good. Again, too much interference. They order forward his House of Torture stuff, but not like as bad as them. They got to cut back on some of it, right? Like, it gets to be too much where it's like formulaic and too annoying. But I can't say that it's not working because the crowd was really into it, and then they stopped it at a certain point, and then let the two guys go, and they're like wrestling and having a really good match. And I'm like, where has this Elijah been his whole career? I've never seen him this good. He was pretty good against Ali, but they had so many interferences, it was hard to get into the match. But this time they stopped the interferences after a while, and then Jason Hotch and Elijah just got to work. And I was like, oh, goddamn. Like, look at Elijah go. He looks like Randy Savage, but he's like, out there throwing high knees and shit. And he was doing some Kenny Omega's moves. And then, of course, he transitioned into Undertaker's moves. He's doing the rope walk and the tombstone and all that. But Elijah got the victory with the tombstone pile driver. And then afterwards, he fought off the Order 4. And then Order 4 goes backstage, and they interrupt Jada Stone cutting a horrible promo. I was like, thank you, guys. It's like, Jada's not ready for her own promo time. Keep it short. Give her something to say. But she was like killing time until Order 4 got there. So they put her in a bad position to look like. Then Order 4 interrupt her. She gets all mad about it, gets in Ali's face. Then Tasha Steelz gets in her face. And then as they're about to attack, Elijah makes the save, and they take off. And then next up, we got Elena Black versus Ruthie J. Short, sweet, and wholly inoffensive. And then Daria Ray was on commentary, the former Sonya Deville, saying we're going to have some big surprises come of No Surrender on in a couple weeks. And then the Hardys they're backstage just having a weird conversation. Like, the camera's not on them, but they were in character and speaking dialogue that was clearly written for them. So, because Jeff can't do dialogue, he's terrible. But they're talking about how, like, they're really excited about TNA on AMC, and then the Righteous show up, and they spout a bunch of nonsense. And I think they want to do another match with them, but it'll probably be something cinematic, is what I would assume. And then we get to the Feast or Fired, and obviously I was upset that Macklin got fired, but also I just didn't think that this was a very well built up segment. It wasn't very well produced. These segments are always really good. I watched one from 10 years ago that I actually thought was like 10 times better than this. That 10 years ago, they built up the Feast or Fired segment all throughout the show and had cameras on the guys talking about it all throughout the show, being nervous about being fired or being excited about a potential title shot. With this one, you got one shot of them before a commercial break, and they come back from commercial, and then it's just a 2-minute segment. They didn't do a fucking thing to build this segment up. They didn't build it up all the way. I mean, like Hannafin talked about it, but they didn't really like make it that big of a deal. And then they just rushed through it. I missed the old days of JB when it was like a game show, and it was cool. It was fantastic. Oh, King, you ask a good point. Okay, why didn't they do this thing in the ring? They didn't do it in the ring for a good reason, because it would have been spoiled, because they did it during the taping. So that's why they didn't do it in the ring. So that was actually smart. But anyway, so I didn't think it was like a very well done. But Trey Miguel got the international title shot. I was worried that they were just going to stick it back in the X division. I kind of like him being the guy that takes the belt away from Stinks. And then hopefully they just get Stinks out of the company and they just, transition into like a real run for Trey Miguel and see what he's got. Because he's always been an X division guy and a tag guy. So I'd like him in the international slot. And you got two former world champions that were international champions, and Stinks right now is dragging the title down. So maybe Trey Miguel can lift that belt up a little bit. Eddie Edwards gets the world title shot, and that will be playing out over TV here pretty soon. Eric Young gets the X Division shot, and then of course Steve Macklin got fired. So one of the reasons why people think that this is a work is because they foreshadowed Steve Macklin getting fired with Eric Young in a previous backstage segment a couple weeks ago. And they were the two last guys. And then Eric Young kind of talked shit to Macklin. And then Macklin just took his briefcase and left. So some people think that is a sign of a work. And I think that's a real possibility that it could be a work. But I also think that it's a real possibility that he just shows up on Collision on Saturday. So I could see that for sure. And then, okay, we go backstage and System confront Mike Santana. And then we get to the main event. Main event was awesome. It was really awesome. Rich Swann versus AJ Francis. I said at the beginning of the show, if you're one of those people sleeping on AJ Francis, if you're one of those people hating on AJ Francis, if you still call him top dollar, you still call him flop dollar, you still make fun of the fact that he had a really bad botch years ago at a high level, you're missing it, because this guy has improved significantly. And here he is in the ring with Rich Swann, aka Ricky Morton himself, and they proceeded to have a heated, awesome, like plunder match that I thought was better than their match from Genesis. And the match Genesis was the best match of the night and one of the better X Division matches you've seen that didn't involve Leon Slater in a while. AJ's great, and it's probably time for him to start getting his just due, I think. He doesn't endear himself to the fans, and that's probably why he's never going to get his just due. But I think you put that match on Dynamite, and it gets like 4.5 stars, and people are talking about it for like 10 days. It's that good. It was that good. TNA's in this weird position where if they do push AJ Francis, the people that don't watch the show that have a negative perception of it are going to be like, oh, whole top dollars. I was like, guys, like this guy's working his ass off. He's a hardworking guy in the ring and out of the ring. The guy's working his ass off, and he takes TNA's logo everywhere he goes. And then when he shows up in the ring, he doesn't phone it in. He actually is having really good matches. And him and Rich Swann tore down, and he put over Rich Swann huge. And Rich Swann needed the victory because he's been down and out for a long time, but he's back and he looks great. And I'm not going to do the play-by-play on the match. It was a good, solid 15-minute match, a main event match, and I thought it tore the house down, and I would highly recommend anybody go see it. One of the better matches on TV this week. And I did watch Dynamite. This would have held up on Dynamite just fine, for sure. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it. And it was heated too. They had like 1,400 people in that building, and it was 11,000 seat arena. So it was a big arena with not that many people, but they made it look good, and it was heated. It was really good. So good stuff. All right. Kid says stinks. Yeah, I took that from BQ. So sorry, BQ. I stole your gimmick, buddy. That's it. It's mine now. Like I own it. Wrestling Cover says Jeff kind of teased and spoiled in Chris Van Vliet's interview today that a cinematic match is coming soon. So I think that's where it's headed. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Hopefully they don't do cinematic for the TNA Plus special. They keep it for television. Because if they go to these places and the Hardys aren't wrestling in the ring, like that's going to be bad. Because people are buying tickets specifically for the Hardys. They're the only draws in the company right now. And you can't not have them in the ring. They have to be there. AJ Francis should have an international title for sure. And WWE fanboys judge AJ Francis off that one botch. It's WWE fanboys and AEW fanboys. And for a long time, TNA fanboys for sure. I was one of those guys. I did not want AJ Francis in TNA. I had not even a little bit. And I am proud to say that that man proved me wrong, and he works his ass off. And I think it's time for people to show him a little bit of respect, for a guy to work as hard as he does, as big as he is, and as famous as he is. Like, the guy's got connections in football and hip hop and TV and all that stuff. And he takes the company's logo everywhere. They should invest in him, I think, for sure. All right. Let's see. Ronnie says not lots of engagement this week. Ratings will drop. I am predicting a ratings drop for sure. But they were trending. But trending's fake. Trending means nothing to me. I run Hardy cinematic match on a tape show where they do a match in front of the live crowd for a different week. Yeah, for sure. AJ Styles at No Surrender. No, I don't think so. I think AJ, like, if I were a betting man, I think AJ goes to AEW if he does leave the WWE this weekend. I'm flip flopping on that, but I see that one coming. I don't think that if AJ hits free agency, Tony Khan's gonna throw so much money at him. It's gonna be ridiculous. It's gonna be wild how much money he's gonna throw at AJ Styles. But if TNA were to bring him in, they're doing a show in Atlanta, a live episode of Impact. And that's where I could see him coming back at for sure. But and AJ Francis says Suge Knight energy, yeah. You can't hear me, bloke. I don't. What is bloke? I don't know what that is. Speak up. I think I'm loud. So and I've been talking to these guys for over an hour, so I think we're good there. But that's gonna do it for us this week on the Mike and JD show. No, not Mike and JD. I'm tired. Brace for impact. JD's not fucking here. He's not cool enough to watch TNA. Brace for impact. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me this time. And until next time, mahalo.